Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us. What? They told me they fixed it. Oh, guys, I don't think we're going to have the juice for a full episode, so instead we're going to bring you a rapid fire. Oh, I'm FighterWizard. My bad. Sorry about the hyperdrive. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Raiderlance and
FighterWizard.
FighterWizard. The Frank to my Bill. Or wait a minute. I'm always pissing you off and annoying you, so am I Frank and you're Bill? Or wait a minute, you don't like guns, so I'm Bill. I don't know. I think all we can say is if we were stuck in a compound together in the apocalypse, what's that look for?
What can we say about this?
We're going to be sparring and choking each other out probably about day 2.
Yeah, okay. That's really different than the Bill and Frank episode, but yeah, that's true.
Well, let's clarify this. For any new listeners, me and FighterWizard are good old friends who for a decade argued about nerd topics and then would punch, kick each other, and strangle each other on the mat. So that's where I went with it, you sicko. I don't know where you're going with it. First off, this is episode 2 that we're going to be reviewing of The Last of Us, not episode 3.
But what an excellent teaser for the episode 3 discussion. Excellent teaser.
So I want to, I will try to stick to the format and we're going to film. All right, before we get into episode 2, let's do some housekeeping. Like, subscribe, share this podcast. We're a new startup. You might have been looking at our YouTube video going, hey, what the hell, guys? There's no video here. It's just an audiogram. We are working toward it. Got a new computer. We promise you we will have video. Just stick in there with us. And we promise we will not disappoint you. All right, format we're going to use to review episode 2 is what did you like, what you didn't like, why it's important to you. So, FighterWizard, episode 2, what did you like about it?
I like this episode because it was, you could say, sort of the big reveal of the infected, the cordyceps. It reminded me, probably the most so far of the show, of the first 2 episodes at least, of the game mechanic. You're in a cramped interior space. They are navigating through that space. They can't make a noise. They can hear you, but they can't see you. And they're taking lots of shots just like they do in the game. Also, there was a pretty dramatic ending, what with Tess's sacrifice. Sure. The moment where they heavily foreshadow it in the beginning of the episode through a few lines of dialogue with Tess. You step on, I can't remember the exact line, but if you step on a dead infected here 12 miles away, the horde will know. And that exact thing happens. Right. And the thing that I also really liked was when they're going between buildings and walking across like a 2x4, not 2x4, like plank. A 2x8, a plank, thank you. Just sort of laid between 2 buildings. You do that exact thing all the time in the game. Yeah. And it was just kind of cool to see that set piece, as many of them are, set piece recreated so well on the actual set. What did you like?
I think they did a fantastic job bringing the fright and the horror when you're in the dark, trying to do these pseudo sneaky missions. These things are hard to kill. But I think the thing I liked the most was the scientific angle that they took with this. They really tried to legitimize this, in my opinion, by bringing a microbiologist, making it somewhat believable, something from the fantasy world. As a microbiologist, what was your take? I mean, of course, it's not straight science, but I mean, the hazmat suit, the scalpel, bringing in somebody for some type of new epidemic. How's all that hash out in your brain?
You are giving me a lot more credit than I deserve. Also, I'm not a microbiologist.
Wait a bit. Okay, how did I screw that one up?
I'm a virologist, or at least I was. Virologists study viruses. Microbiologists usually study bacteria.
Got it. Okay.
Mycologists, which is what she was, study fungi or fungi, depending on whoever's pronouncing it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
On whomever is pronouncing it. What did I think about that? In my very limited interaction with infectious disease specialists, I think that body would have been under more heavily armed guard if they had suspected it of something, which they clearly did. But based on where it was, etc. I will agree with you, though. I'm going to actually take back what I liked the most. I'm going to take everything I just said away, and I'm going to say the beginning. The beginning of that episode was so strong.
Oh, yeah.
it through a little bit of body horror, because when the infected are infected, especially with like the mycorrhizae coming out of their mouth, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
With a little bit of body horror, her reaction and just the way they set the scene up, because you're already going into the episode like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, it's a public place. Okay, there's going to be an outbreak.
Sure.
But it's not. It really subverts that whole thing by just having a little old lady who's eating lunch.
Yeah.
And they show the horror through her eyes, through her reaction. It just, what should we do? Bomb.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Everything.
Yeah. And the look on the general's face. The look on the general's face of,
yes,
I want to say innocent horror. He couldn't believe that was the answer.
That's the answer given by an old lady.
The man who wages war is responsible for sending people out to their deaths was horrified by her answer.
Yes. She is requesting that they bomb the city where she lives and that everything will die. Yeah. That was a tremendous beginning to the horror. And I think one of the things I like most about the show is that it shows you the horror of the world, not through blood and guts. There is that, and there is that place. And when it's done well, but not through blood and guts, but through the human reaction. It's kind of, when Steven Spielberg made Jaws, he reveals the shark very late into the film. Because he says once you reveal the monster, you don't get that reaction back. You don't get that initial reaction from the audience back.
Interesting.
Which is why he usually waits.
Makes sense.
Kind of like why the T-Rex in Jurassic Park doesn't come out till late.
Right.
Well, not late, but you really build towards it.
Yeah.
And that same thing happens through The Last of Us. You're seeing the monster, you're seeing the horror by looking at the expressions on other people's faces, not by blood spatters on the wall.
Right.
That's what I like about it.
There was one other thing. I had to go back and watch the game. It's been like over a decade since I've seen it. So they gave Tess a much better death scene than the one in the actual game. In the actual game, it's Fedra who came and she, did the Alamo showdown where she sacrificed so they could get away. In this one, she's a badass. She took out 50, 60 of these zombies. So I did not like, maybe we could transition to what we didn't like. I didn't like the kiss with the cordyceps zombie. That was fucking gross.
Dude, I think that's an excellent transition, and it was fucking gross. Fucking gross. Fucking gross.
It was gross. Unneeded. Unnecessary.
So I like it. I didn't like it, sure. But I like that it's one of those things. So by now, when we see horror movies, when we see The Walking Dead, it takes a lot to get that sort of visceral discomfort.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but the last time I watched Walking Dead, which is a long time ago, one of the only things that got me was not a rotting body, because you see that all the time now.
Sure.
Not someone being eaten, as disgusting as that is, because you see that all the time in the show, but by someone's head being like ripped apart by a horde. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This had that same effect where it's physically disquieting. It's just disgusting. It's disgusting every time it happens. Like in the first episode when she like takes her mouth away, you're like, fuck, does she have like hair in her mouth? Like, oh my God, it's fungus. And every time that happens, it's been 3 times now. And that one is, just thinking about it's too much.
What is it with dogs where they have the worms in their butt? It's not ringworm. It's tapeworms.
Humans get that too, but yeah.
Yeah, but from the mouth. That's what I'm thinking here. That's
God, dude.
But you know what? I need to contrast that. That is not the grossest thing or the pinnacle of the horror in this show. In episode 2, they earned a horror show title, in my opinion. And that's because they turned something that I'm usually can withstand, and even I had to with it. And that was when they showed Asian trim. I cannot tell you how mortified I was seeing that woman on the slab. Because first of all, I said, is that Wong's sister from the MCU? Like, how did they get the copyright permission to put her there? Oh, she totally looked like Wong.
Okay.
But second, why would you do that? We did not need to see that. Were you not as mortified seeing that as you were seeing the zombified cordyceps coming out of that thing's mouth? I was.
Let me tell you about a moment in television where I was as mortified. And it is not this show. It is a current show that a lot of people at work mentioned. And so my husband and I watched a couple episodes of it after our daughter went to bed this past weekend. That show is called White Lotus, which features an actor very prominently who is in episode 3 of The Last of Us. In the first, I think, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of that show, you're watching, and then all of a sudden, a dude's fucking balls are in your face. The camera's like 6 inches away from his hairy ass nuts, and he's like moving his wang all over the place because he's checking for testicular cancer. And the camera pans out, and it's Steve Zahn. And I like that actor because I've seen him in lots of stuff. He's in a terrible movie with Matthew McConaughey called Sahara. He's in That Thing You Do. He's a character actor. He's been in a lot.
Okay.
But for the rest of whatever other life I have and I see Steve Zahn, I'm never going to be able to get his nuts out of
your face.
It's his balls. And just so that perhaps is the same reaction that you had towards this scene.
It was
also, White Lotus is not good. I do not understand why people like it. I've seen 3 episodes of it, and it's it gargles nuts better and harder every single episode.
Compared to Willow. You guys can't see his face. That was a real dilemma there. That was like the Batman Forever Save Robin or the girlfriend.
I don't know.
White
Lotus is better acted. The acting is excellent. White Lotus is just boring.
Willow is just awful.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, okay, let's get back to The Last of Us.
Yeah, let's go back to The Last of Us.
Let's get back to a happier subject. So, yeah, Asian trim on the slab, horrible. We did not need that. The zombies were horrific enough. What did you not like about the episode?
There wasn't a lot that I didn't like. And I think that's one of the strengths of the show so far in the 2 episodes is there's not a lot of filler. There's not a lot there aren't many scenes, and I'm struggling to think of one where I thought I could get up and go pee if I needed to. Granted, it's streaming and we can all pause television now, but
sure.
There was nothing I wanted to look away from, or I would look at my phone. I want to be with the story while it's on screen. The only thing I didn't like was actually the thing that served the horror aspect, which is the mycorrhizae coming out of the guy's mouth when he makes out with Tess at the end. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Well, if you guys haven't caught on, we're not doing a walkthrough review anymore. We're just trying to give you the best hits. We are going to cover the show pretty much like this and just a bunch of rapid fire episodes. So please join us with the next one. We are going to...
No. We're forgetting one question to make this run long. Why do you think it's important, if you think it's important?
Because I'm attracted to Asian women, and this just totally destroyed my view of when they get older.
I was thinking the show as a whole, not the...
Oh, my bad.
Not the victim of the cordyceps, but that's fine. Maybe that's your takeaway.
You said what was important to me. I had to go there.
That is fair.
Now,
I did ask that question.
Now, in defense, all right, I'm not trying to shit on Indonesia here. Indonesia is not world renowned for its beautiful women, for say Colombia would be, or Japan or Brazil. I still think this show did Indonesia dirty by picking that as a representative on the table. They could have done better. I'm just saying. I think it's very important to show these other countries in better light than HBO Max did.
I don't want to say anything.
The look of disapproval.
I don't.
No. Okay, why was this important to you? I ruined this episode for him.
I feel like I should talk about White Lotus or something.
Next episode is going to be better.
Important I think it's important for the reasons I've always had. I hesitate to classify television as important, but this I think transcends normal TV. It really, for me, it gets much closer to cinema or art through this lens of horror and post-apocalyptic settings than most other shows that I watch, of which there are a few. And I think it's important is because it reinvigorates that post-apocalyptic horror genre. And again, it shows you the dystopian society by putting the camera towards the actors' faces, not by putting the camera out on the society itself.
I see what you're saying.
In the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried to sound smart, but I kind of failed. We'll go back to what you said about trim.
It personalizes the horror story as opposed to from a World War Z. You're just looking at it from a macro view.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to wrap this one up. We are going to now review episode 3, The Last of Us, in our next rapid fire. If you guys are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Catch you later. Bye. That's it. That's our show. Join FighterWizard and myself for our next rapid fire episode where we will be discussing The Last of Us, episode 3. Please do us a favor, like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. Once I get around to it, check us out on our socials. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next episode.